Next presenter is somebody that it means a lot to us personally, but as far as what she does for our company is really irreplaceable. She really is kind of the straw that stirs the cocktail here. So I look forward to having her be able to kind of explain what it is that we do and really give you some ideas and best practices to those shops out there on how to market your job and get it out in front of everybody. So without further ado, Lisa Joseph, our Director of Recruiting. She comes to us from Wesley Chapel, Florida, outside of Tampa. And so I'll hand it off to you right away, Lisa.
Thanks, Jay. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Bear with me. Thanks everyone for taking time to hang with us here as I just figured this out. Bear with me. Okay. There you go. And can you guys see the screen? I hope you can.
You're good.
All right, here we go. So all day, we've been talking about the changing market and things we can do to sort of make things better. But this is more specifically for what you could do today to be more effective in attracting technicians to your shop, because that's ultimately what we need immediately. And so we put together this little anagram to try to kind of summarize the host of different things that we do and that you could be doing to attract technicians to your shop and to really start being great at recruiting for this really tight market. And so, it's attract technicians. So A is always be recruiting, and we'll go into each of these a little bit. Treat your employees well. Transparency is key. Research your competitors. Ask your employees for help. Cast a wide net, and turnaround time. And so I'll just kind of run through these and give you some examples of how it can help and why it's important, and hopefully, it will help you as you dip your foot into this unique market that we have. So always be recruiting. This is kind of a new concept for most. Didn't always be this way, right? A couple of years ago, I think it would have been an alien thought to start looking to hire somebody before you actually had an opening. But the state of our market is that, well, two things. Firstly, you're likely to have an opening, more likely than probably in the future, even if you don't now. And when you do have an opening, it's going to take much longer to fill that opening. And more of our shops now have more than one opening at a time. So that's problematic. You never want to be in a position where you're down a couple of guys and can't get somebody in quickly. And so the way you avoid that is by being proactive and kind of developing the skill of always being out there in the market and available to technicians who may be open to opportunities or whose circumstances may change and may become open to opportunities at a time when they don't expect it. So that can be tough, right? You don't want to spend every day thinking constantly about recruiting, and nobody wants you to do that. We want you to focus on your business, but there are ways that you can kind of maintain a presence and do some recruiting and outreach every day and week. WrenchWay is a great way to do that. It kind of just keeps you present amongst the best shops in the industry and visible to anyone who seeks to look for you. Career fairs are always great as well. Really anything that you can do to stay at your fighting weight, to be out there, always kind of present and ready with a good opportunity that's visible in an ongoing way. Find a Wrench obviously does that on a regular basis, but you can do it yourself as well on social media pages, on job boards, and some of them that are listed here, the career page on your website, by getting your employees talking about it, and so on. Treat your employees well. This one seems simple, but you'd be amazed how many shops trip on this. So your employees are your number one asset. I think that most people on this call would agree. But what I think many people don't realize is how incredibly expensive it is to replace one if they're gone. And a lot of times, we kind of weigh the benefits or the cost analysis of adding benefits or doing these things for our employees. Say it's too expensive right now. We can't afford that. But the cost of not doing that can sometimes be far worse. And so I'm a big advocate of spend money on the people that you already have to avoid having to find people to replace them. And so I'm probably preaching to the choir since you're all here and obviously forward thinking, but I think that is a very important piece of this puzzle, and I'll give you some examples. So before I start recruiting, kind of within my own team and for any clients that I work with, the first thing I think of is, how am I doing with my existing team? For two reasons. Firstly, if I've just lost somebody to a competitor or whatever, that entire team is at risk of going as well, for two reasons. Firstly, the first thing that the new employer of the person that you lost is going to do is ask them who they know. And so if there's anybody that maybe is a little on the fence, they're definitely at risk of that. These guys are friends, right? And so they're going to stay in touch, and that's going to be an open door. The second thing is, even if they don't directly recruit away a person, the fact that somebody on the team left to go to someplace else and is talking positively about it can plant the seed for someone who maybe hadn't thought about it before. And so anytime somebody leaves, it's a perfect opportunity to stop and think, okay, how am I doing with my existing team? And these are some things that I would always ask. And the first is, how am I paying them? Am I paying them at the current market rates? That seems like a really simple thing, but you'd be amazed how quickly employees, especially the ones that have been there for a while, can fall behind on the market rates. So check that and be sure that somebody doesn't stand to make a lot more money someplace else just because maybe you haven't paid attention to it and the market has grown around your existing staff. How are your benefits? That's a really tough question, especially for the smaller shops, because I know how expensive medical and dental and so on are. But if someone else is offering it and you're not, you stand at very good risk of losing an employee, and you make it very hard on yourself to gain an employee when you're out in the recruiting market. So try. Do whatever you can, even if it's only a little. And when I say benefits, I do specifically mean health coverage. Dental, vision are less important, but also important. 401k or some kind of retirement plan. I don't mean things like health club memberships or uniforms and that kind of thing. That is helpful, but it's not a game changer. So the ones I would focus on would be that healthcare coverage, dental, vision, and the retirement. And if you can do anything, do it. Don't hesitate if you have even the slightest chance of being able to do it, because it will make a difference in the type of employees that you can secure from the market, and also that you can keep from leaving. Next one is there anyone on your team that could be promoted into that spot? If your lead person just left, is there someone on your team that could move into that role? And I say that for two reasons. Firstly, if you need to recruit for a more junior person, that's easier for you to do than it is to find somebody at the higher level. So if you have someone who could stretch upward into that position and you can be recruiting at a lower level, that's going to be a faster search for you. And so I think that's good for most people, just on its face. But also from a team perspective, if you signal to your team that you're committed to them and to helping them to grow within their career by promoting from within, that's a tremendously powerful message. And that's going to go a very long way in keeping your team put so that you don't have to recruit an awful lot. And that word will also spread to help you recruit others who aren't on your team yet. So that's a big one. I'm not saying promote somebody that's not ready or that doesn't have the skills or what have you. But if you do have somebody, consider them. And even if you decide against it, have a conversation with them so that they know you considered them and they can get an idea about what they actually need to do to develop to be ready for that spot next time. That's the next bullet on here, is the conversation about their careers. If you see gaps, let them know and help them figure out how to fix those gaps. And that can become an extremely positive conversation. I'm not talking about a performance conversation like you did this wrong, or you did that wrong, or, you know, your weaknesses are these 5 things. I mean, you know, we have this lead position available. I'd like to see you step up and coach some of the younger guys a little more before we consider you for that. Give them opportunities to then build those skills. That is a very, very positive conversation, and it can turn somebody who might be maybe a little bit burned because they just hired somebody more senior and above me into, you know, kind of a positive, I know what I need to do now to step up next time. And, you know, that's really important, firstly, so that you don't lose that person. And because it shows within the whole team and makes a much stronger team to begin with. So I hope that makes sense. And then the last thing would be, do your team members know anyone that they can recommend? Those are all connected, right? So they all have to be feeling good before anybody is going to recommend anybody to you. But if you've done the first 4 things, you know, it's a natural next conversation to say, hey, you know, I have this open position, who do you know? And they know people. Question is whether they want them in the workplace with them. And, you know, if you've done the first 4 things, they'll be more willing to kind of share that. Okay, so moving on. Transparency. This is an interesting one. Job seekers crave it. They want to know, is it worth me risking my good job now to try someplace new? Most of these job seekers are not unemployed. Most of them are currently working and considering a different type of opportunity. And so we have to be really transparent in order for them to be willing to take that risk, to take a day off of work to go in for an interview, to put themselves out in the market where there's a chance their employer could find out, right? We have to kind of take a step forward also. They're giving you the resume, they're being transparent that they might be willing to make a move, but we have to be transparent about what we have to offer. And so here's a really good visual of a very, very well done, transparent organization. Just as an example, this is Dan's Auto Center. And you see how they've got just really crystal clear information about all the opportunities that they have available. This happens to be on WrenchWay, but this type of information could be portrayed on your social media, your website, job post boards, or where have you. So you can see that Dan's has 5 different levels of opportunity. They're pretty clear about their pay range. I would always, if possible, state your pay range in terms of an annual salary. I know that most techs are paid by the hour, and that a lot of you have really great bonus incentive programs and progressive scales and so on. But that's the reason that you want to put it in an annual way. Think of it this way. If you have a progressive flat rate shop and you're super busy and you know your shops are always going to be busy, those guys are always going to make, the top of their scale, and it's a great opportunity. You need to illustrate that to them over the course of an entire year, because the shop that they're at may have peaks and valleys that makes it hard for them to imagine how they can really earn a steady high income at your shop. So you have to help them to be able to see that. And one of the best ways to do it is to give an annualized range. You can explain all the details of your bonuses separately, but help them to see a B-Tech at our shop is likely to make $40,000 to $50,000 a year. They know what they made last year, so they can understand that comparison. I hope that makes sense. You see also, we've got tabs for different things. We've got benefits, work environment, career development, and hiring process. Put it all out there. If you don't have benefits, then it's going to come out. So list what you have and be honest about that. The work environment, career development, all of those things, the more you have, the better. Don't make it up, and don't, overinflate what you have. But what you have is important. So go ahead and put those things in there. Also, and this is always hard for people, if there are things about your job that could possibly not be attractive, don't hide them. Like, so recently we had a client who, to them, it was an everyday part of their job. They were a trucking company or a repair company that fixed fleets of garbage trucks outside in Florida in the summertime. That's significant. That's a significant detail. And they had trouble retaining people because they were sort of glossing over that in the interview process because they wanted to get people on board. But we were just as able to help them to find somebody who was cool with being outside. They kind of liked it. And that person stuck. So there's always someone that's going to be good for your job, even if it's that you do nothing but warranty work, or that it's nothing but, a certain type of car. There's somebody for every job. So whatever it is, even if you think there's a piece of it that might not be appealing to everybody, that's the most important piece, because by being clear about that, you'll get the right person in the job that will stick. And ultimately it comes out anyway. It's just, it just takes a little longer if we're not transparent about it. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so the next one is our research your competition. And this is kind of connected with the last two slides, right? The visibility and the, the transparency. You want to understand where you stand versus your competition, right? If everybody is paying more than you are, that's a problem. If everybody is offering certain things, or is only working Monday through Friday, or is reimbursing for tools and training and you're not, these are things you need to know. And the only way to do it is by looking. It can be easy to just kind of say, I do what I do. It's my company. I'm on my own. I don't need to worry about what my, other people are doing. And that's all accurate. But it's a very small talent pool and you're all in it together. So you have to kind of know what the next guy is doing. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. Obviously we prefer WrenchWay because it's designed for that, to really show all the same things about companies that are in the same market. So you can better compare apples to apples. Job boards, though, are a great way to do that. Everyone posts jobs on Indeed or on Zip, or even just Google it. Also ask your employees. They'll be able to tell you who's got the best reputation, where's the place everybody wants to work. what they think about different companies and so on, and that can really help you in making improvements within your own organization. Okay, so ask employees for help. This is one of my favorites because I mean, this is a great stat. So, company social posts reach 561% further when shared by employees. 561%. That's it, and that's not hyperbole. That's a real stat, and I think it's particularly useful in recruiting. So yeah, it's going to have benefit when you're trying to promote, maintenance, sales, or whatever promotion you happen to have going. But if a current employee of a shop shares a job post of that shop on their social media with a branded, from their branded social media page, it's far more impactful to their own network. So that technician's friends will see that technician works at this shop and wants me to know about this open job. It's a much more personal experience. And maybe that person kind of follows on social media and would have gotten that anyway, but they won't get it directly, kind of with that little attachment that says, Joe forwarded or Joe shared or what have you. They'll get a notification. It's far more effective and super, super easy. It can be as simple as just asking your employees when someone leaves, hey, we put this post up on our social media. Take 5 seconds, please do us a favor and hop on there and share it. So that, that's kind of the most informal way to do it. But you can make it even a little bit more formal, and this can get you even further than that natural, kind of organic sharing can do. And so some companies, especially the bigger ones, but you can do this with the smallest of companies, is to offer incentives when employees do certain kinds of things. And so like the easiest of them is to give them a gift card if they, if they refer one of their friends for a job. Or even like a little referral bonus if a friend of theirs gets hired because they submitted the resume. The idea is to just kind of let them know, A, we have an opportunity and we need your help. And B, maybe in some cases there's even something in it for them. Even when there's no financial incentive, there's always an incentive for an employee to fill a job on their own team with somebody that they would like to work with. So it's kind of a natural match. Employees that are happy will want to do this anyway. So it's just a matter of kind of building it into the network so that you can say, we just put this job up, go ahead and share it. This is why, and let your employees take it from there. It really can make a big difference for them. Okay, so this is kind of my bread and butter right here, cast a wide net. And I know that we're running short of time, so I'll try and be fairly brief. But the days when you can just put this little cute little help wanted sign in the window and someone will walk in and fill your job are gone, I'm afraid. It's not even as easy as let me just throw an ad up on Indeed and then it will rain resumes like they say on the commercial. It's not that simple. There's no magical site that everybody goes to that will bring you the candidates that you want. Obviously, we hope one day that that's going to be WrenchWay. We're not there yet. At present, you really have to work at this. You have to post in a bunch of places in order to be able to just have the whole population see that you have an opening. That's not even apply. That's not even get through the process. So start by casting the widest possible net that you can imagine. And then this is kind of an illustration. This is what we do at Find a Wrench. This is the page of one of our assisted self-recruiter clients. And as you can see with these circles here, for this client, we're posted on more than 100 job boards. We're posting for them in 52 social media groups. And we've built a pipeline of 21 passive candidates that we're kind of actively reaching out to. Obviously, if you're doing this on your own, it's not going to be this glitzy. You're not going to possibly be doing, with these large numbers, but this is the idea. You can't just be on Indeed. You have to be on Indeed and Zip and Glassdoor and all the local and the smaller job boards. You have to be everywhere. And you can't just rely on job boards. You have to be on social media as well, and not just your own social media page, but groups and, you know, everywhere. And then you have to reach out to everyone that you know and who they know, and keep just kind of checking in over and over and over and over again. The net needs to be really, really wide when the market is as tight as this, because what you're hoping is that you catch a technician at the moment that they're making that like quick little peek to see what might be out there. That's your single best chance. So you have to cast that net really, really wide and often and consistently, and keep doing it over and over and over and over again. And it will be successful eventually. It's just persistence and an abundance of posting and replication. I hope that that makes sense to you. It's not impossible to recruit technicians now. We prove that every day, and so do you. You have a shop full of technicians, so you know that they are hireable. You just have to work at it and get really, really good at being consistent and comprehensive in your coverage. Last but not least, turnaround time. And this is one that I think most people don't even think about. The time it takes for you to interact with the candidates that you've attracted can make the difference in whether you can successfully recruit them. So what I would ask is, are you following up with candidates the same day or the next day? And if your answer is the same day, how about like 3 days later? Then, my friend, you've got a problem. Because these guys 3 days later are already employed or have already gotten a counteroffer and accepted it from their current employer. This market moves at lightning speed. And so that's the single biggest improvement I think that most shops can make, is kind of getting on board with that and setting aside time each day to see what has come in and to act upon it immediately. And so that's not just in the initial response. That's at every stage. So when you get a resume, if you respond quickly, but then you don't set up the appointment for the tech to come in until next week, they're already going to be gone. Or if you respond quickly and then you get them to come in that day or the next day, but then you mull it over for a few days and they don't hear from you, and you're just thinking about it. You're not, there's nothing wrong, but they're already gone. They either have second thoughts and they say, no, I'm just going to stay where I am, or they've been interviewing with someone else, or they get countered. Got to be fast at each step. When you get the resume, call them right away. Schedule them for as soon as they can possibly get there, or do a phone screen and then schedule them. Then call them within, some next day's probably fine, but I even would do it within 12 hours to say, hey, thanks for coming in. This is the next step. And this fourth bullet, or this third bullet here, is my personal most important tip for you all. Don't just rely on email, but I would take it even one step further. Don't just rely on email. Don't just rely on texting, and don't just rely on the phone. What we found is that no tech replies to all of those three things. Or, well, not no tech, but most technicians will only reply to one, maybe two. If they're a texting kind of person, they're not answering the phone if you call, and they probably aren't checking their email. If they're an email type person, they're not checking tests. So when you get the resume and you're interested, do three things simultaneously: email, text, and call. And if you don't hear back from them, the next day, do the same thing again. That simple combination of things will increase your results, because it just accesses 2/3 more of the technicians by doing it all three ways. And then by doing it a second time, you really drive home the results. And so we're back to the summary. So always be recruiting, treat your employees well, transparency is key, research your competitors, Ask your employees for help. Cast a super wide net, and turnaround time matters. That's my song and dance, guys.